something strange is happening. If you've been paying attention, Trump's talk about upping the China tariff another 100% to a total of 130%, which caused the stock market and crypto, namely, to crash massively on Friday. And then, just a couple hours ago, we have this post, China vowing to fight the trade war to the end. Awesome. This is exactly what we need right now, is another tariff trade war. And the weird thing about all of this is that on Hyperliquid, there was a mysterious trader that opened up a short position just before Trump made this announcement, starting with a humble, I believe it was $80 million or so, and ballooned it up to, and made $88 million in the span of roughly 12 hours. What's crazier is that this same entity literally just opened up another short, and then all of this stuff is happening. I have my theories. I have my suspicions. I want to show you how I'm using CoinGlass to look at some information here. But before I do, what's up? My name is Aaron Dishner, and you are watching Coin Bureau Trading. What's up? If you have not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, like the video, and let's get right into it. So for those of you that are not aware and you've been living under a rock for a long time, Hyperliquid is a decentralized perpetual futures trading platform. So this specific address right here, which is a literal brand new address that deposited funds, we can actually go over here to deposit and withdraw and find the first deposit on October 10th at my time, 1:39 a.m. I know it's really, really small. There we go. They deposited a nice $80 million, and then they started to withdraw some funds. But what's crazier is that you can see the positions and the transactions. So over here, we're just looking at the current positions. There are no open orders, as in there are no limit orders to sell or take profit. But they built a position, and then they started adding to it with an entry price at $115,288. Now, their profit and loss currently stands at a nice 10.29 million, which is going to fluctuate quite a bit. And they have a total short worth basically 4,390 Bitcoin, a value of about $500 million with 10x. Now, this is really interesting to me. The liquidation price right now is at $124,000, which honestly is not that high and actually not that far away from Bitcoin's current price. So yes, they are making some crazy money now, and they are betting that the trade war is going to get nastier. Now, whether or not this is inside information, if this is some insider or it's barren, which I don't think it is, but someone is clearly profiting from some sort of inside information on this and using a lot of money to take advantage of the volatility in the crypto market. Now, it is pretty crazy to have someone open up a short position at a juicy spot right before this insane candle printed on Friday. It's too bad they didn't short anything else, though, like SUI, which went down to like 56 cents. But anyway, what's really weird about this, again, is the timing. And this post, both of these posts, this one vowing to fight the trade war to the end, and just like that, having a new position opening just before this stuff is unraveling, is a little bit too convenient, in my opinion. Now, I want to focus on this liquidation price here of $124,000. Yes, of course, on futures or whatever, perpetual futures exchanges, you can add to your margin. But I want to share something with you that I think is really interesting about that. For one, it's a really comfy place to be liquidated at about $124,000. What was the proper price? $124,265. So let's get the exact price as best we can. Perfect. Good enough. What's crazy about this is that if we just look at the price of Bitcoin over the last couple of months, there's a clear level right here of support, which also turns into a pivot high back over here in August and here again in September. Now, the reality is that there's also a pivot high up here as well. These are essentially two central areas where I'm expecting BTC to go. The current one is basically right here at 117,000. And then, of course, we have this one way up here at 124,000 or so in this range, starting from 122. Now, I have no inside information. I don't know if this trade war is really going to get awful, really going to get ugly. There's clearly still some fear surrounding this because S&P Futures has already started to negatively react to this before the stock market is opened. If we go here on the hourly time frame for today, when this news was shared, we saw S&P Futures drop about 25 points, which is decent, especially after it had this terrible drop here. And we saw everything get a little bit messy on Saturday as the market reacted to the news, losing 3.84% or 261 points. Of course, there's a little bit of a recovery, but not enough to be like, okay, we're out of the woods. So S&P Futures is reflecting some uncertainty about this back and forth right now between the US and China. But let's go back over here. Let's assume for a minute that BTC has found some pivot lows and some pivot highs. Okay, actually, let's take this one right here. Okay, so this is just a really simple exercise. We have a high, low, high, low, high, low, high, and we have a low here. I know that the way it goes down here, but just bear with me. I'm looking more at these candles, which shows a reversal. I'm focusing specifically on this green candle. And there's something else to notice right here too. But I can't get into that just yet. Why? You know the deal. Down below in the description, you've got to check out the links to sign up for these exchanges. Whether it's for Femex, whether it's for BYD5, both of these are centralized trading exchanges that you can access. Or if you want a non-KYC requiring exchange like 2bit, which basically you can withdraw up to, I believe, $50,000 a day without having to share your credentials, which is insane. There are also way more deals that are available at coinbureau.com/deals. The first thing to check out is the Coin Bureau Club. This is awesome. There's a private area of the Discord server that is available where Dan, my co-host, as well as Guy and Nick are sharing their thoughts, ideas, observations about the market. Plus, they are growing the club to offer more tools and resources for all of you fantastic people. Yes, there are other exchanges and other platforms to look at. Also, there's a 10% discount off for our course, 15 Minutes to Financial Freedom from thebettertraders.com. So I want to go back over here to TradingView to talk about this idea of pivot highs and pivot lows. Personally speaking, I believe that this is our pivot low. That's it. It's done. It's a done deal. And one thing that's really, really, really interesting about this sell-off that we saw on Friday is actually twofold. I'm going to wrap all this stuff up right here in a nice little bow in a folder like that. And I want to talk about a fair value gap. When we saw on the 1st of October, we were starting off with Uptober and it was amazing. We saw the price go up from 114,000 up to 126, right? But what also happened too was that a fair value gap was created right here on this big candle, which didn't have any retracements going back down. I guess you could even say it started from here, but let's not get picky. Let's just stick with this because we're focusing on this one candle that was a really big candle. 4% or basically 3.99% for BTC is a big deal. So clearly on Friday, this fair value gap was closed, which is true. But what's interesting is that Friday has also created another one of these fair value gaps. If we take this candle, just like that, what's really interesting is that these fair value gaps, not necessarily like a CME gap, but kind of sort of, they want to get filled. And eventually, when we have these fair value gaps that are created by these massively long candles in either direction, the price typically wants to go back and fill it. Because really violent price action like this, whether it's to the upside or the downside, usually there's some sort of correction. So let's go back to this previous idea. We know that there are some pivot highs and some pivot lows, right? And there are also some mid-cycle pivot highs, I guess you could say here at 117K. So here's something that's really interesting about this zone. For one, it's right inside of this fair value gap. Two, the top side of the fair value gap is just below this liquidation level of $124,000. Now, if I am going to be shorting with $80 million on 10x leverage and the price happens to go against me, going up higher, and maybe things just get eased all these tensions, maybe. But we see the price of BTC start to move up higher and higher. If you're a stubborn trader and you're going to keep that position open and we close our fair value gap, there's a good chance we might even get a wick up here, which means that we could see another short squeeze. Now, personally, I doubt that the person that's risking this much of their money, even though they're in a good profit right now, the price is down only 1.85%. They're clearly expecting another massive dump. But what I think is really important to note is that I believe that the ultimate destination of BTC, even though it's had, its fair share of ups and downs, I believe that we will be moving up to the top of this zone to close the fair value gap and also to make a new all-time high by the end of this month. Now, I know that seems a little bit crazy, maybe even a little bit too bullish, but honestly, I believe that BTC is going to close up to around 130,000 by the end of October, which isn't that far away. It won't be a straight shot. It won't even be anything close to this. But the main thing is that because we have a fair value gap that starts at about 121,000, that's already going to be putting a lot of pressure on this particular individual that has a liquidation price of $124,000, which again is right at this previous upper resistance level, which is very, very interesting to me. So how do we trade this? Well, the main thing to focus on right now is immediate price action is still going to be really rocky and really rough, in my opinion. I don't think for a minute that the price of Bitcoin is just going to immediately pump up and to the right. Now, if Trump comes out and says, all right, I had a call with Xi Jinping and we're all good to go, we're going to, everything's been smoothed out, thank you for your attention to this matter, then yes, we will see Bitcoin go up higher as well as the S&P. Eventually, the price will be going up higher. I'm pretty confident of this happening. There are no definites, there are no guarantees, but that's the expected outcome in my opinion. But what if it doesn't? Well, if it's not going to go down, if it's not going to go up, then we need to be watching for a drop down probably to like $105,000. The unfortunate truth about these long lower wicks like this is that it does show the market where things can go if we don't get our desired outcome, which again is to fill that fair value gap going to the upside. So unfortunately, there is the possibility of BTC revisiting the low that was set at about 102,000 on BTC USDT on Binance. But I am favoring seasonality right now. I'm favoring the historical performance of Bitcoin every single October since 2011. So the median performance is like 14%, which puts us again at about $130,000 at the end of the month. I also believe that we are very much near the end of this bull market. So based off of these two things, I think it's more likely that Bitcoin actually goes up higher after this after this massive liquidation event, instead of it going a lot lower. But again, we'll see. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment with what you think is happening behind the scenes and where you think Bitcoin is headed next. And until the next time, you know what to do. Stay awesome and stay in the green. Peace.